Island about it. I want to talk to Democratic Congressman Adam Schiff, who joins me now. He's the ranking Democrat on the House Intelligence Committee. Congressman Schiff, I guess the obvious question first is, what was your reaction when you were watching this press conference? I feel like every day people have said, "Wow, I can't believe what happened today." Was this a new low?
It was a new low. I found it just disgusting. This is probably, without a doubt, the most shameful and cowardly surrender of American interest in modern history. To see the President of the United States humble himself, prostrate himself in front of the Russian dictator, basically blame America for problems in our relationship rather than take on Russia's invasion of its neighbor, its poisoning of citizens in Britain, its blatant interference in our election, to side with this former KGB officer over our own intelligence agency. It was a despicable act of betrayal of the United States. And I will say this, Anderson, about my GOP colleagues who are in hiding right now. You are complicit in this. You are complicit in this betrayal of American interest in your silence as you hide. There is no avoiding responsibility for this. Every American should condemn what just happened. This was nothing less than a surrender to Russia of American interests.
Can you just explain what you mean by this was a surrender to Russia of American interests? Because obviously, look, there's going to be Trump supporters who are watching this who say, well, look, okay, maybe he's not a practiced politician, and it wasn't the kind of normal press conference you might have, but what's the big deal? He didn't give away really anything specific. It's not like he's some bad deal. For you, what would you say to those people who are kind of questioning, well, why was this such a surrender?
Well, first of all, being a politician is completely beside the point. He's the President of the United States. He's expected to know how to do his job. He's expected to articulate American values. He's supposed to defend his country. But instead, in the same week in which his own Justice Department has essentially indicted Russia for hacking democratic institutions, leaking democratic emails, he's asked about this standing side by side with the Kremlin leader who ordered this intervention. And he says, well, why would Russia do it? I don't really believe it. I don't know whether to believe my own intelligence agencies. That's a surrender of American interests. To basically engage in this kind of relativism that says, well, yes, Russia's to blame, we're to blame, everybody's to blame. That kind of moral equivalence with this dictator is repugnant. We expect the President of the United States to defend liberty, to defend democracy, and first and foremost, to defend the United States of America. He did none of this. And my GOP friends, and not just members of Congress, but around the country, need to take off the blinders. If this was done by any Democratic president, they would be naturally howling from coast to coast, and it should be no exception because it's Donald Trump.
I grew up in the age of Ronald Reagan telling, in that speech in Germany, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall, of Ronald Reagan saying, trust but verify, to the face of Mikhail Gorbachev. It's extraordinary that if the Republicans do not speak out about this, that they how what it says about the change that has taken place in this Republican Party under this president. Again, I mean, he's literally playing ball with Vladimir Putin, who is involved in the shoot-down of a Malaysian Airlines, who's involved in invasion in Crimea, the fighting in Ukraine, the poisoning of British subjects, our closest, who are supposed to be our closest ally, who the president views, I guess, as one of our foes because they're part of the European Union still. What does this say about where the Republican Party is and where we go from here? If the President of the United States doesn't believe the intelligence community, doesn't believe the Russians were involved in hacking, what does that tell us about what's going to happen for the midterm elections? If he's not holding cabinet-level meetings to prevent this from happening again?
Well, first of all, Anderson, it's a complete disavowal of Ronald Reagan as the flag carrier of the Republican Party. Ronald Reagan on domestic issues would be far too moderate now to fit into this Republican Party. But with this lurch towards Russia, this uncritical acceptance of this dictator and other dictators around the world, They have now repudiated that part of Reagan's legacy. There is nothing left of Reagan's legacy that they're apparently willing to champion if it contradicts the President of the United States. So Reagan is clearly no longer worshipped within this GOP. This is the party of Donald Trump. But I will say this, too. You might have seen in New York Magazine there was a story that hypothesized what if Donald Trump was a Soviet sleeper since the 1980s. No sleeper would be this blatant. A sleeper's Russian handlers would say, don't be so obvious. But this president, really, it would be hard to script actions more beneficial to Russia than what this president is doing. Attacking the European Union, attacking NATO, attacking France and Germany, Britain and Australia, our closest allies, and hugging Russia close is really a dream come true for the Kremlin. And, you know, as to the next election, Anderson, this is essentially an open call for further Russian intervention. Vladimir Putin has to know at this point that as long as he intervenes in the U.S. election on the side of Donald Trump, this president will either lack the integrity or the guts to call him out on it. And so, unfortunately, this makes us more vulnerable in 2020 and 2018 than it did in 2016.
Yeah, it's truly, it is a stunning day for America. Congressman Schiff, I appreciate your time.